Hello everybody, welcome back to Read and Reread. I am Angelia and today I'm going to do the Rome tag. I was tagged by Priscilla at Evening Reader to do this tag, which is about all things Italian, and the tag was created by Jim at Jim's Books, Reading and Stuff. I'm going to link Jim's original tag and Priscilla's version of the Rome tag in the description box so that you can check out those as well, and while you're there, take a look at their awesome channels because they both have wonderful videos about all things bookish, and I enjoy their channels so much. All right, so I was foisted with the task of this tag. I'm just kidding because I love tags. I do. I love tags. I love to make them. I love to watch them. I love the discussions that they generate. I think why I love tags is because they make me look at my reading history and books from different angles. It's just good, nerdy fun. I love it. So in this one, it's about a lot of Italian stuff, and I don't even have good answers for a lot of these questions, but I still had a lot of fun trying to think of what my answers ought to be. So I have my questions over here. So if you see me looking off to the side, I'm reading the questions. So let's just jump into it here. The first prompt is, what was the last book that you read that was set in Rome, and what is your favorite book set in Rome or Italy? Okay, this is a little bit of a cheat. So my very first thing I'm going to do is cheat. But the last book I read that was set, it's not set in Rome, but there's a part of the story that happens in Rome that is off camera or off book. So I just read A Room with a View just a couple weeks ago, and it was a reread, and I love this book. So the story begins with a group of British tourists in Italy. Then the story moves back to the main character Lucy's hometown in England. But there's a piece in between where Lucy and her traveling companion Charlotte go to Rome, where she meets up with Cecil, who I think she's acquainted with already, but he starts to pursue her and keeps proposing marriage. And so all that's occurring off stage, and then we get back to the people in England, and where he is again attempting to persuade her to marry him. And so Rome is important in the story to the characters, even though we don't get to see that part on the page. So I'm kind of cheating, but Rome is in the story, and it is one of my favorites. So does that count? If I wanted to actually go back to the book that was indeed set in Rome, the last one that I read, we have to go back quite a few years. I think this book came out in 2010. Hold on. This book came out in 2010. It is The Imperfectionists by Tom Rachman. And I was reminded of this book in Priscilla's Rome tag video because she talked about this. And I forgot that I did read this book and that I really liked it. And I actually have this book. But this book is, now I want to read it again, of course. But this takes place in Rome, and it is about a group of people that work at an English language newspaper in Rome. And the paper was began by an eccentric millionaire, and now I think he has a son or a grandson or something that is the current publisher. And it takes place at that time period, 2010, where papers began, I guess, I don't know if that's the beginning of when they print papers were in peril or if that's the middle of it. It goes around to the different people that work at this paper. And I remember really loving it and recommending it to some friends at the time. And it's been sitting on my shelf, hiding in plain sight. Now it's definitely on my reread radar because when I'm hearing Priscilla talk about it and then looking at what it's about, I'm remembering that I really enjoyed it and all these different characters that are in this book. And so it is pretty much a contemporary story of people in Rome. So now I want to read it again. The Imperfectionists. Let's see. The other part of the question was, what is your favorite book set in Rome or Italy? And for that one, I'm going to go with Still Life by Sarah Winman. This was one of the best books that I read last year. I think it came out it might have been 2021. Yes, it came out in 2021. I read it in 2022. I have found ways to sneak it into a lot of videos, but I really did love it. And infamously, I found this at a thrift store for $2, brand new. I mean, it looks like maybe somebody bought it and then was given the book and it wasn't their kind of thing or whatever. But I pity the fool who dropped this off at the thrift store because it is a treasure and I really love this book. And it is mostly set in Tuscany. The beginning is there, and then there's a piece that is set in London, but there's a young English soldier, and he has a great name, Ulysses Temper. And through an event that happens during World War II, he ends up inheriting this beautiful villa, and he moves there, and he has a kind of a found family with some of his friends from London, a couple of people that go with him. I don't want to give away the story, but when he comes back from the war and he goes to London, his wife that he's been waiting to reunite with, he finds has a child because she had a one-night stand with a soldier that she fell madly in love with and who has never resurfaced. And so, but he actually becomes very fond and becomes the father of this child. And so he and his daughter and another friend end up going to live in Tuscany, and the other friends kind of come and go and visit, and he makes other friends. Anyway, it's a found family story. It goes through many decades. Then it led me to read another book by her, Tin Man, which was also excellent, completely different, and I recommend both of these books very much. But this one was set mostly in Tuscany, and it's beautiful. The next question is, do you have a favorite book in translation? And it does not specify Italian, so luckily, because my answers are not Italian, I'm going to go with my favorite book in translation as being Dangerous Liasons, which I did reread. And I am suffering from the effect of more recent things standing out in my mind, but I did reread it back in maybe January, February, and I did read it years ago, and I loved it both times. It is delightfully wicked and full, well, not full, but there's two of the most reprehensible characters ever to grace the pages of literature, and I was there for it. But it is translated, and my particular edition was translated by Ernest Dowson, and it is an 18th century novel, epistolary novel, about two former lovers that make great sport of using and abusing, seducing and discarding people. They are part of the aristocracy. Any two people that are this dangerous, toxic, and volatile and nasty are eventually going to find themselves at odds with one another. So I don't want to say more about the plot, but it is mean-spirited fun, and I enjoyed it very much both times that I read it. Another one that I loved when I read it, and I want to reread it, is Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, and I do not have a copy. I did have a copy. Heaven knows what happened to it. I think it might have been a yellowy paperback, so I think that we chose to donate it and thinking that we would get a nice hardback, but we haven't done it yet. But I really do want to reread it, and the Classics and Company book group is doing Tolstoy later this year, so I'm hoping to get a copy so that I can participate in that and see if it is still one of my favorite books in translation. So I want to mention that one as well. The book that I just most recently read also is a book in translation, The Peacock, which I finished last night, and this is delightful. I'm going to talk about it on Friday Reads. It is by Isabel Bogdan. It was written in German, translated by Annie Rutherford, but it takes place in Scotland, and I will talk about it on Friday. But it is just a very light, funny book that I enjoyed very much. And as far as translated books, I want to also reread Madame Bovary by Flaubert, which I remember liking when I read it years ago, and I still have this copy. It's another one of those want to get to it books. And another one that I reread, no, I didn't reread it, I only read it for the first time recently, was Elena Knows by Claudia Pinero, and I've talked about this one several times too. So those are some books that came to mind when I thought about books in translation. Have you read any writers of the Roman Empire? Nope. I looked it up to make sure, and nothing rang a bell. I don't think I've read any of that whatsoever. If you think I should read something from the Roman Empire, tell me what it is. So as far as the Roman Empire, I got nothing. Have you read any books in other languages? Nope, I got nothing for that either. I'm not fluent in any other languages. I took Spanish and German in school, in high school and college, and then due to working in Texas for many years, I have a passable reading knowledge of some basic Spanish, like signs or maybe a children's picture book, but I am not conversant. I could not read a novel written in Spanish. So basically my answer is no. I just have a smattering. So moving on to the next prompt. Do you have a favorite movie set in Rome? For that, I will go with Mission Impossible. Mission Impossible, I had to look it up. Number 3 is partly set in Rome. There's a whole section that's in the Vatican City. And then I have heard that number 7 that is forthcoming is also set in Rome. So I don't know what they're going to do, but it'll be, far-fetched and implausible, and I will enjoy it. I do also like The Talented Mr. Ripley that Priscilla mentioned, and that would be fun to watch again. I remember enjoying that movie quite a bit when it came out. Number 6, what is your favorite Italian car? Okay, I am not a car person. Let us just say that first. So my favorite Italian car, if you are into cars, you're probably going to not like my favorite Italian car, but I'm just going by looks. So I like these little Fiats, and I will put a couple of pictures of ones that I like, and I solely based on their appearance, because I like cute little cars. I like little bitty cars like Fiats and Mini Coopers, and I know that they have performance issues. I have heard about this, and I don't really care because you asked me and this is my answer. I like the word Lamborghini. If I saw one pass by, I would just know that it was some kind of fancy car. I would not recognize it, but so I am just going on surface issues. But I just love little cars, big dogs and little cars. That's what I like. Prompt number 7 is: many of Shakespeare's plays were set in Italy. Do you have a favorite? Yes, he did set many plays in Italy, and I don't really know why. I don't know if he even ever went to Italy. I'm gonna say maybe Twelfth Night. I like that one. And also I want to reread Romeo and Juliet. I wouldn't call it a favorite, but it's one that I read. I think I first had to read it in maybe 8th grade in a drama class. And I don't know why they thought that the particular behavior of the teenagers in that story would be a great thing for us to read about in 8th grade. But we read it, and then I think it came up again in high school. It came up in college. It got a little bit overused, but I feel like I should reread it again with my old fogey eyes and see what I get out of it this time, because I know that I really love some of the characters and some of the dialogue, even though the plot was sort of but I need to give it another chance. But so officially my answer is Twelfth Night, but I want to reread Romeo and Juliet. Number 8, do you have a favorite Italian writer? Nope, I do not. I have read odds and ends that were by Italian writers, but none of them jump out at me as a favorite where I tracked down and read more books by that author. So I am open to suggestion on this question. If you think there is an Italian writer that I would really love, you can let me know. I have not read anything by Elena Ferrante. I do remember years and years and years and years and years and years ago reading If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Calvino, and I liked it at the time, but I don't have a copy. I didn't reread it. I'm pretty much blank on that question as well. I'm kind of an Italian dud. Number 9, do you have a favorite Italian dish, or what is your favorite pizza topping? I think probably my favorite, I do like Italian food. I like pasta. I really do love pesto. And I like traditional pesto, but I also really like a pesto that I make that's a vegan version. And I know if you're a real Italian purist, that probably doesn't sound like a good idea, but I like my pesto, and I make it pretty often. And pizza toppings, well, not mushrooms, Priscilla. No, not mushrooms. I suffer from a vegetarian flaw of I don't like mushrooms at all, and I don't like olives. So I don't want those on my pizza. I do like just about any other veggies, any kind of peppers. artichokes, garlic, basil, jalapenos. I like almost anything except um, meat or olives or mushrooms. The last question is, have you ever been to Rome? Sadly, no. I would love to go to Rome and Italy in general, but it has not happened yet. But I still have hope. And so that concludes my tag video. I'm not going to tag anyone in particular because I forgot to plan that in advance, and now I'm at the end of the video and oops. So if you have never done this tag and this sounds like fun, please know that you don't have to have any decent answers at all or have ever been to Italy to have fun making this tag. Let me know in the comments what your answers are to any of these questions or books that you think I should add to support and expand my Italian reading knowledge, and I look forward to hearing from you. Have a great day. Bye-bye.